What is going on, guys? This is Jake at That Fit Friend, and today we are going to be doing a review of the Allbirds Tree Dasher 2. So 3 things to like about this model is number 1, if you are somebody who wants a shoe for daily wear basis, lighter workouts, and casual runs, this is a good model to look into. Not every pair of running shoes and training shoes can be worn on a casual basis and look good with pants, shorts, etc., and also be really comfortable for the duration of a day, but this model does a really good job with that. Plus, they do perform pretty well for casual running and lighter workouts, so they are a nice dynamic shoe to look into. So if you are looking for a model in that context that you can kind of wear, like let's say on your commute and then to the gym and then also to the office, and it looks pretty good across the board, this is a good model to look into. The second thing to like about this model is that it looks like Allbirds listened to the feedback from the original Allbirds Tree Dasher and implemented a lot of subtle changes that makes this shoe a better model. So 3 things right out of the gate include number 1, they reworked the heel counter. So in the original Allbirds Tree Dasher, the original heel counter and heel kind of dug into the Achilles for some folks, myself included. Like my original Allbirds Tree Dasher still has blood to where I got blisters from wearing no-show socks when breaking that shoe in. This heel counter has yet to give me any blisters, and I've been rocking no-show explicitly in the shoe to test that. So I like the reworked heel counter in this model. You can tell that Allbirds was listening with that original feedback. The second little change is that they reworked the heel construction and brought down the weight a little bit in this model. So it has a much less blocky heel, still pretty blocky, but it has a curvature to it, looks a little bit more sporty, and the weight of the shoe is a little bit lighter than the original Allbirds Tree Dasher. And the third subtle change is that they reworked the outsole patterning and gave it this lug texture. This makes it a lot more dynamic on different surfaces, which I personally like because the original Allbirds Tree Dasher's outsole was so slick, you would have some slippage here and there depending on the surfaces you are using those shoes for. The third thing to like about this model, and this is pretty much similar to all Allbirds gear and why I think a lot of folks and myself invest in Allbirds, is that they responsibly source their materials. So as with all of Allbirds shoes, these shoes are designed to have a lower carbon footprint to like the industry norm. This model actually has a 5% reduction in its carbon footprint compared to the original Allbirds Tree Dasher, which I think is really cool. And I think that that's why a lot of us like to invest in Allbirds. It's because they are trying to build more sustainable gear that is slightly better for the environment. So that is obviously another big pro with the Tree Dasher too. So as a whole, I really like this model, and it's cool to see Allbirds listening to consumer feedback and making tweaks to this shoe that make it better than the original model, because it's a sign that the shoe line is progressing in the right direction. But now let's talk about a couple of cons I have with the Tree Dasher 2. So 2 potential cons I could see folks having with the Tree Dasher 2 is number 1, I think you have to understand that when you go into this shoe, you have to temper your expectations. So because the shoe is so good for a little bit of everything, that comes at a cost to specificity. And so I don't think the Tree Dasher 2 will ever be the best model for serious marathoners, for sprint work, for more serious training, but for a little bit of everything it works really well. But that being said, I think if you're going into this model thinking like it's going to be like the most highest performing running shoe you've ever had, then you might be a little bit let down. So I would just say, make sure that you understand what this shoe is going to be best for and how you plan to use it. If you need a shoe for serious marathon training, for example, putting in some serious mileage every week, you might want to look into something different. Not that the shoe can't perform in that context, I just think that it might fall short for some folks who want to use them for that. The second potential con is that despite being slightly lighter in weight, this model is still a bit heavy compared to other running shoes on the market. And that's also why there is a knock on the shoe's long distance and sprint work performance. It just feels a little bit clunky at times. So that is a potential drawback too, especially if you like lighter shoes for your running training. Overall, I think it is a step in the right direction for the Tree Dasher line, and I think if you invest in this model, just make sure that you understand and mitigate your expectations with its performance. When chatting on performance in the Allbirds Tree Dasher 2, I'm gonna break this section to a few different parts. We'll talk about lighter training, running, and then daily wear. So when it comes to lighter training, I actually really like this model. The Sweet Foam midsole gives you enough stability to do some lighter loading, and also the outsole patterning gives it a nice edge for more versatile training. So if you're doing stuff on turf, or if you're working out on rubber gym floors or wooden platforms, you should have a good amount of grip in this model. Like, is it going to be your best for serious lifting, serious training? No, but if you want to use them for home workouts, body weight training, more dynamic training, so going to the track and doing some body weight kettlebell or dumbbell work, and then also doing some running, this model should fit the bill really well. when it comes to running, I think this model will work best for shorter and mid-range runs. Like, could you use them for long distance runs? Absolutely. However, for me personally, like, I like this shoe best for much more casual paced runs and shorter runs at that. And that's due to the overall weight of the shoe and how it can feel a little bit heavy, especially as you start to fatigue a little bit on your longer runs, at least for me personally. So as a whole, I do like this shoe for running, and I do think it's a better model than the original Allbirds Tree Dasher. It is a little bit more lightweight. That heel has been reworked, and this outsole patterning is awesome for giving it a slightly more dynamic feel on different surfaces. So you can now wear these outdoors on like gravel, grass, concrete, etc., and you should have a good amount of traction in the shoe, whereas the original Allbirds Tree Dasher did somewhat fall short. So for running, I do like this model. I would just say make sure that it aligns with your style of running and with the intent in which you plan to use them with. For daily wear, I really like this model, and that's, I think, one area where Allbirds just continues to excel. This model is comfortable. The sweet foam midsole gives you a nice, responsive, but also stable surface to stand on. And as a whole, the upper feels really comfortable. And I love that booty style design because it's easy to slip on and off, especially if you wear yours a little bit looser. So if you just want to pop these on and run errands or wear them to the office casually, this model is a really good option to look into. And the fact that they look pretty dang clean and casual as well with pants, shorts, etc., that's another perk of this shoe for daily wear. So as a whole, I like this shoe for lighter training, running, and daily wear. Again though, when we get super specific with our realms of training, the shoe might start to fall off in regard to its performance, but as like a best of all worlds style of shoe that also works well casually, this model does a really good job. So now let's answer the question, who is the Allbirds Tree Dasher 2 best for? So I think if you are somebody who plans to use this shoe on a daily wear basis that you can just easily slip on and take off, etc., and then also use them for casual running and casual training, then this model is a good pick for you. It has a fairly low carbon footprint, and compared to the original Allbirds Tree Dasher, I think this is a superior model due to the construction features that Allbirds implemented in this shoe. So that being said, if you're looking for a good daily driver that can also work for casual training and running, then this model is worth it and good for you. When it comes to sizing and fit in the Allbirds Tree Dasher 2, you should be safe going true to size. The length fits true, and the width up in the forefoot is what I would describe as like a neutral width. So if you have a narrow, neutral, or slightly wide foot, the shoe should be pretty comfortable for you going true to size. When it comes to price in the Allbirds Tree Dasher 2, you can expect to pay $135 USD. And now personally, I do think that price point is fair for what this shoe offers, especially if you plan to use them in the context that we've already discussed in this video. Plus, I think the price point can also be justified due to the materials used in this model, and I'm always willing to pay a little bit extra if a company is really trying to responsibly source what they're using in their shoes. But that being said, once again, if you are looking for a super serious running shoe, then you may want to look into other models. However, for what this shoe delivers, I think the price point is worth it. So when it comes to the weight, insole, and heel to toe drop in the Allbirds Tree Dasher 2, for my size 10 model here, we have a weight of 10.70 ounces. The insole in this model is removable, and the shoe has a 7mm heel to toe drop. So when chatting on the construction in the Allbirds Tree Dasher 2, the devil's in the details, especially when it comes to the materials used in this model. So the upper is a eucalyptus tree fiber upper, and then we have 4 eyelets that run up. These are bio-based nylon eyelets, and the shoelaces are made out of recycled plastic bottles. Looking at the midsole here, so we have a sweet foam midsole throughout. This is made with sugarcane based green EVA. And then we also have a reworked outsole patterning here with these lugs once again. So up here on the forefoot and heel, we have a rubber texture in this midfoot. It's an exposed foam, but I think for most contexts, this foam should be okay because with this lug patterning, it does feel pretty durable, especially for a daily wear basis. This rubber used is an FSC certified natural rubber outsole. And then once again, we have a reworked heel counter back here. So the heel counter doesn't protrude nearly as much, and we do have a slightly thicker rim of wool here. This is ZQ merino wool lining. And then we also have a castor bean oil based insole foam. And yes, If you're wondering if I had to write this down and actually script this part because there are so many nuances to the materials, absolutely, yes, I did. I had to shoot this like 5 different times. But that being said, guys, that's kind of the gist of this model's construction. It's pretty simplistic in nature, and as a whole, the core of it is very similar to the original Allbirds Tree Dasher with some subtle tweaks here and there. But if you have any questions on the construction of the Tree Dasher 2, hit me in the comments below. So now let's quickly compare the Allbirds Tree Dasher 2 to the Allbirds Tree Dasher. So 4 differences between these models include, number 1, their heel counters. So in the original Tree Dasher here, we had a counter that came in more, and that's what also caused that friction on the Achilles for some folks like myself. As you can see, like, we still have a nice little blood stain there from me breaking the shoe. And in the Tree Dasher 2, the material comes up more vertically, which is nice because it gives it a little bit of space between creating a ton of friction on the Achilles, which I personally love. The second difference is the outsole patterning. So in the Tree Dasher, we had a smooth outsole, whereas in the Tree Dasher 2, we now have lugs throughout. Personally, I like having lugs because it gives it more grip both in the gym if you're doing some lighter training and also when running on different surfaces. So overall, I do like the lug patterning. Also, I don't think it affects the overall comfort for the shoe when used for daily wear. The third difference is the heel construction. So in the Tree Dasher 2 over here, we do have a slightly less blocky heel compared to the original Tree Dasher. We also have a bit more curvature back here, which I also think is really good for making this model a slightly better bet for different strides when running and walking, etc. So overall, I do like this change. It's still a tad blocky on the Tree Dasher 2, but as a whole, compared to the Tree Dasher, it has been brought down a little bit. The fourth and final difference is that the Tree Dasher 2 does have a 5% reduction in regard to its overall carbon footprint compared to the Tree Dasher. So that being said, if you're on the market for one of these models, unless there is like a super good deal on the original Allbirds Tree Dasher, I would say just go for the Tree Dasher 2. I think it's a slightly superior model, and the construction features and updates make it a more rounded and dynamic shoe compared to the Tree Dasher. But if you have any questions on either of these models, and if you're torn between which to go with, hit me in the comments below and I could try to help you out accordingly. Alright guys, that wraps up my review of the Allbirds Tree Dasher 2. So I like this model, and it's really cool to see Allbirds taking consumer feedback and then implementing changes into their shoes accordingly. If you have any questions on this model, drop a comment down below or reach out to me personally, whichever you prefer. And as always guys, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.